There is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns.
I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens with respect to these craft, period. I don't think there's any more that needs to be said there.
As much as I want it to be aliens, probably isn't. I'll give them that. But the reason people are even saying that is because President Biden has been completely silent on this issue. And as we all know, anytime there's a vacuum of information, anxiety, and confusion, step right in. This is exactly what has happened here. The Biden administration being way too opaque and lawmakers from both sides not happy about it. Watch.
I think the Biden administration needs to provide more transparency.
I have real concerns about why the administration is not being more forthcoming with everything that it knows.
Department of Defense left me in the dark literally for about 18 hours while I had people all across Montana asking questions about what is going on.
The Biden administration needs to stop briefing Congress through our television sets and actually come and sit down and brief us.
Well, I think that would be lovely, because then we could hear from our senators and representatives what they heard from the White House. Our next guest was the first guy on that montage, and he wants answers. Joining me now, Alaska Republican Senator and member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Dan Sullivan is here. Welcome, Senator.
Good to be on the show, Kennedy. Thanks.
So Alaska has all of a sudden become the most important state in the union. And I think a lot of people didn't realize what an important posture Alaska has in terms of global security. So what are your constituents telling you, and how are you feeling about these incidents that have affected your state directly?
Well, Kennedy, I'm glad you raised the point about Alaska. We are the cornerstone of our nation's missile defense. We are the hub of air combat power for the Arctic and the Asia Pacific. We are the first line of defense for the entire country, the top cover for America. So thank you for saying that. Alaskans are proud of that. We're also actually very proud of the Alaska-based military that shot down 2 of these unidentified objects, the one, of course, over Alaska, but we also shot down the one over Canada. Those were Alaska-based military forces. So what I've been telling our military, and what I know Alaskans back home want, is they want us to continue to protect our sovereignty. And you know, right now, I've been informing and advising the military to shoot down these unidentified objects. But the other thing we need to do is surge forces to recover these objects, whether in Alaska, and the recovery operation is undergoing some difficulties with difficult weather, or in Canada, because then we'll have a much better sense of what this threat is, where it emanates from. So those are very important things our military is doing right now.
Okay, so we know that some of these objects have been described as octagonal and cylindrical.
Yeah.
Do you believe that they are of Chinese origin? Do you think it could be something else? And is this something that is happening constantly, or are these new phenomena?
So it's a really good question, and I think it goes to your point that you made at the top of the hour also about transparency. You know, military organizations, intelligence organizations, by their nature, are secretive. But, you know, we live in a democracy, and we need to make sure there's full transparency here. And those are the kind of questions that I'm going to be asking. We are going to have a brief. The U.S. Senate's going to have a brief tomorrow with regard to the latest shoot down of these objects. But, you know, the other thing that I get wary of, Kennedy, you've been hearing the Chinese throughout this entire episode over the last 2 weeks. They said that spy balloon wasn't theirs. I'm very skeptical that they might even be involved in these operations we're going to see with regard to the unidentified objects. The spy balloon clearly was theirs, and the Chinese Communist Party has a pattern of lying to Americans, lying to the world, and you're seeing more of that happening on a daily basis.
Yes, and you know, then they objected when that craft was eventually shot out of the sky. And you know, when I first heard that it was a Chinese weather balloon, I thought, oh, how wonderful. The Chinese Communist Party is finally taking climate change seriously. If that were the case and they were launching weather balloons all over the globe, maybe that would be an explanation. I don't think that's the case. Are you satisfied
No, I don't think so either.
that the Senate Majority Leader has been running point on this story on the country's behalf?
No, not at all, right? I mean, look, Chuck Schumer running point on this, I think, was a disaster yesterday. What they need to do is bring in the military officials, the national security officials, to answer the questions. By the way, your program is showing it. It's Democrats and Republican senators who are saying that we need more transparency here. So, but you know, one final thing, and I'm going to press on this. This is a wake-up call for other things that we need. You know, we need to have military systems, detection systems for our country. Certainly in Alaska, as I mentioned, we're the front line of defense for the nation, that can detect everything from small, slow-moving balloons to very fast hypersonics to low-flying cruise missiles. And I think this is a wake-up call to our country, to our national defense, saying we have a lot of vulnerabilities and we need to make sure we're starting to address these very soon.
Yes, and we're even more vulnerable when we spend money we don't have. Senator Sullivan, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Kennedy.
Very good.